Welcome to the third presentation of Human Resource Management Part 1 of the Insider's Guide to Park and Recreation Agencies. First, let's cover performance appraisal and feedback. There are 5 basic types of appraisals. Trait appraisals evaluate on traits like skills or abilities related to the job. Behavior appraisals relate to how an employee does the job. It focuses on what an employee does and provides a good feedback option. Result appraisals focuses on what an employee accomplishes. For example, sales reps are usually evaluated on what they sell and how much they sell. Objective appraisals are based on facts such as sales figures. Subjective appraisals are based on a manager's perceptions of traits, behaviors, or results. Many rating scales are used to overcome subjective problems. So who appraises performance? It could be yourself. Self-appraisals usually supplement a manager's appraisal or a manager's point of view. It could be a peer appraisal where a coworker provides their appraisal. This is common in team settings. It could be a 360-degree appraisal. This provides appraisal from a variety of people able to evaluate an employee, such as peers, customers, superiors, and self. You need to be alerted to bias from some evaluators. Effective feedback appraisals must provide feedback. Formal appraisals are conducted at set times of the year. They provide valuable but infrequent feedback. Informal appraisals are where managers provide frequent feedback informally. Here's a simple diagram that shows who appraises your performance. As you can see, the different appraisers are listed around the circle, and they all contribute to the sources of performance appraisal. Performance appraisal techniques vary. Criteria should be descriptive, measurable, and allow a characterization regarding how the work is performed. Employees are measured against the duties outlined in a job breakdown. There are graphic rating scales, such as don't meet standards, below standards, meet standards, exceed standards, or outstanding. There are comparative ranking. Employee performance is evaluated and ranked from best performer to worst performer. Then there's forced distribution, where employees are forced in the rankings that follow a bell-shaped distribution curve. Only a specified percentage of employees can comprise a certain category. Remember, there's essay appraisal, anecdotal record, graphic rating scales, behavioral checklist, comparative ranking, and forced distribution as far as techniques for performance appraisal. Here are some common errors that happen during an employee evaluation. Leniency is when ratings for employees are grouped almost exclusively at the positive end of the scale instead of being spread throughout. Central tendency is when a majority of employees are rated as average on the professional criteria. Recency is when employers use time prior to performance review, perhaps 1 or 2 months, as their frame reference rather than evaluating the employee over the entire period. Halo effect is when raters use a single characteristic of the employee to influence the entire evaluation. This effect can be a positive aspect of the employee's performance and result in an above-average rating, or it can be a negative aspect of the employee and cause a low overall rating. Important is that managers should know when to counsel and when to coach during the evaluation. Here's a sample performance evaluation. As you can see, there's different performance items that may apply, and then a 1 to 5 rating scale. Some tips for effective feedback include: be specific and focus on correctable behavior. Provide a suggested improvement. Focus on problem solving and improvement, not criticism. Express confidence in employees' ability to improve. Use formal and informal feedback. Treat subordinates with respect and praise achievements. And set a timetable for agreed changes. Now let's move on to pay and benefits. Pay and benefits. Pay level is how the organization pay incentives compare to other organizations in the industry. Managers can decide to offer low or high relative wages. Pay structure clusters jobs into categories based on importance, skills, and other issues. Benefits. Some are required, such as Social Security and workers' comp. Others, like health insurance and daycare, are provided at the employer's option. Differential pay based on level of difficulty is based on the relative worth of each position to the agency and is calculated based on skill, responsibility, effort, and working conditions. Differential pay within the position. There might be a minimum, maximum, or a longevity rate. Differential pay for special skills, such as being a park ranger or law enforcement, may increase your pay level. There's also the cafeteria style plan, where an employee can choose the best mix of benefits for them, but this can be hard to manage. Pay or salary increases can be based on several things. It can be performance-based, which is a merit system. As performance improves or increases, so does pay. They can be non-performance-based, which typically results in increased cost of living adjustments. They can be across-the-board increases. When recruiting employees with competitive salaries and adjusting the salaries of long-term employees who occupy positions within the same job classification. Sometimes pay is just based on longevity in the agency. There are many employee benefit programs. Social Security is a supplemental retirement system. Medicare is a federal health insurance program that covers most people aged 65 years or older and those under the age of 65 with certain disabilities. Unemployment insurance provides temporary income payments to eligible employees who lose their jobs through no fault of their own and are able and available to work. Workers' compensation provides benefits such as medical treatment, vocational rehabilitation, and income payments to workers who are injured or disabled on the job. Other health and employee services benefits include mileage reimbursement for the use of a personal vehicle, vehicle assignment, memberships to professional associations and societies, continuing education, training and development, free or discounted fees for participating in programs and services, uniforms and clothing, workplace health and safety, and sometimes employee assistance programs such as free counseling. Now let's move on to labor relations. Labor relations considers all activities managers perform to ensure there is a good relationship with labor unions and employees. There are laws regulating some areas of employment, such as the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, which prohibits child labor, it sets a minimum wage, and sets the maximum number of working hours per week. The Equal Pay Act of 1963 dictates that men and women doing equal work will get equal pay. The Workplace Safety Act of 1970 is where OSHA mandates procedures for safe working conditions. Unions represent employees' interests in organizations. Managers usually have more power over an individual employee. Employees join together in unions to try to prevent this. Unions are permitted by the National Labor Relations Act of 1935, which also created the NLRB to oversee unions. Remember, not all employees want unions. Union membership costs money and dues, and an employee may not want to strike. Collective bargaining is a process unions and management go through to negotiate work agreements. They often result in a contract spelling out agreed terms to pay, benefits, and other things. Finally, we'll talk about standards of conduct. A code of conduct can benefit an agency by establishing a framework for professional behavior and responsibilities. It can promote high standards of professional practice. It can define acceptable and unacceptable behaviors. And it provides standards for employees to use during self-evaluation. A code of ethical conduct is a document that conveys the agency's values and commitment to standards. Core values that frequently serve as guiding principles include fairness, honesty, trustworthiness, integrity, respect, among others. Employee discipline is corrective action taken against employees who fail to meet standards and perform the requirements of their job and/or fail to comply with the agency's policies, procedures, rules, or directives governing employee conduct. Discipline should be progressive, a progressive series of warning steps, and each gradual warning step carries more intense corrective action. Some stages of corrective action may include oral reprimand, written reprimand, suspension, and dismissal. Again, discipline should be progressive. And remember, not all disruptive behaviors deserve multiple chances for reform. In management, sometimes you have to deal with dissatisfaction among employees. This can include complaints, grievances, and dispute resolution. What you need to do is have an open door policy, have an internal complaint procedure, and offer mediation, where a mediator is not expected to make a decision, but work with the two parties to find a solution that is acceptable to both. A grievance procedure is a complaint by an employee concerning the interpretation of rules and regulations governing in personal personnel practices, working conditions, workplace rules, and alleged improper treatment. Binding arbitration is the final stage of the grievance process and involves a negotiation in which both parties agree to accept an arbitrator's, which is an impartial observer, resolution to the dispute. A dispute resolution program typically includes an informal, formal, and a mediation alternative method of addressing and finding solution to work-related issues. This provides management of the opportunity to learn about problems from an employee's perspective and resolve them. It gives employees an emotional outlet for expressing their dissatisfaction with management, and it protects employees from impulsive and unpredictable management actions.